Hope awakens amidst imprisonment in a world where the shadows of uncertainty often obscure the light of hope. There are stories that resonate as echoes of profound truth, capable of rekindling the flame of faith and resilience in our hearts. Let's delve into one such timeless narrative, an invitation to reflect on the power that transcends the highest walls and the tightest chains. Persecution, a constant shadow, had intensified, and the unrelenting hand of King had reached out to silence the voices that dared to proclaim a message of love and transformation. In this scenario of increasing adversity, one of the pillars of this nascent faith, the Apostle Peter, found himself imprisoned, detained by royal order. The chains, cold and heavy, seemed to seal not only his physical freedom but also, to human eyes, the hope of his cause. Peter, astonished and unsure if it was all reality or a vision, obeyed. They passed by a first guard, then a second, and finally reached the iron gate leading to the city, a seemingly insurmountable obstacle. But, to Peter's surprise and AOW, the gate opened by itself, swinging on its hinges, as if propelled by an invisible force. The city street stretched before them, bathed in moonlight, an invitation to freedom. Joy erupted in the house, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and wonder. What seemed impossible had become reality before their eyes. Peter's liberation was not just the story of a man freed from prison. It was an eloquent testimony to divine sovereignty, to God's faithfulness in answering the prayers of his people, and to the continuation of his work even in the face of the fiercest opposition and persecution. The angel accompanied him down one street and then suddenly departed, leaving Peter alone, immersed in the reality of his miraculous liberation. It encourages us to persist in our prayers, even when the answer seems delayed. Subscribe to our channel to receive more messages that nourish the spirit. Share this text with those who need a reminder of divine power, and leave your like to show us that we are connected in this pursuit of a life of purpose and meaning. Together, we can amplify this message of faith and transformation. It inspires us to trust that, regardless of the prison in which we find ourselves, be it physical, emotional, spiritual, or circumstantial, there is a greater power that can open doors and guide us to freedom. It reminds us that the divine work continues unwavering through generations, and that we are part of this sacred tapestry, called to live with faith, hope, and a heart open to the miracles that heaven desires to pour out upon the earth. Chains can bind the body, walls can confine vision, but nothing can imprison the human spirit when it connects to the source of all action. Peter's story reminds us that even in the moments of greatest darkness, when we feel trapped by adverse circumstances, there is a greater force operating behind the scenes of existence. Prayer, in this context, emerges as a bridge between the human and the divine, a channel through which hope flows, faith is strengthened, and the impossible becomes fertile ground for the manifestation of the supernatural. The darkness of night hung over Jerusalem, dense and oppressive, reflecting the atmosphere of apprehension that enveloped the early followers of a new and vibrant path. However, it is also a guarantee that, even when adversity presents itself in its most imposing form, the hand of God is extended, ready to intervene, to open doors that seemed forever locked, and to lead us out of the prisons that life sometimes erects around us. Perseverance in faith and the practice of prayer are revealed not as mere rituals, but as powerful tools that unlock the impossible, transforming captivity into freedom and despair into celebration. It was not a dream, nor a vision. It was the direct intervention of God, who had delivered him from Herod's hand and from all the expectations of the Jewish people. It is within this collective that prayer gains even more strength, where mutual support becomes a balm for the soul, and where the joy of victory is shared and multiplied. The initial surprise of those who were praying, however human it may be, highlights the magnitude of the miracle, and how God often surprises us with answers that far exceed our expectations. It is an invitation not only to believe in what we can see or understand, but to expand our faith, to embrace the limitless, the inexplicable. A young servant girl, whose name was Rhoda, came to answer. Hearing Peter's familiar voice, a mix of astonishment and disbelief overcame her. The joy was so intense, the surprise so overwhelming, that she didn't open the door. Instead, she ran back inside the house, overcome with excitement, to announce to everyone that Peter was at the door. Gratitude and admiration flooded his heart. His steps instinctively led him to a place where he knew he would find his brothers and sisters in faith. Amidst their prayer for a miracle, the news that the miracle had happened was met with skepticism. They told Rhoda she was out of her mind. How could it be, Peter? He was in prison, under heavy guard. They thought perhaps it was an angel, a divine messenger taking his form. But Rhoda insisted, vehemently affirming that it was indeed Peter. Finally, convinced by her persistence, and perhaps by the curiosity that disbelief generated, the house of Mary, mother of John Mark, was a refuge, a meeting point where many gathered to pray. And that night, their prayers were especially focused on Peter, their captive brother. The day of his trial approached, and with it, the expectation of a grim outcome. Yet, amidst the soldiers' vigilance and the thick darkness of the dungeon, a divine plan began to unfold, silent and majestic. In the silence of the night, as Peter slept, chained between two soldiers and with sentinels at the prison door, a sudden light burst into the cell, dispelling the darkness and revealing the presence of a celestial messenger. An angel of the Lord, enveloped in splendor, touched Peter's side, waking him from his deep sleep. The angelic voice, soft and firm, urged him to get up quickly. In the blink of an eye, the chains that bound him fell from his wrists, as if they had never existed, dissolving in the presence of that supernatural power. The night before, what seemed to be his last day of earthly freedom held a spectacle of providence. The church, small in number but giant in faith, did not cease to cry out. Their fervent and unified prayers ascended to the heavens, weaving an invisible tapestry of supplication and trust, a testament to the belief that, even in the most desperate circumstances, the light of divine intervention could shine. And so it happened. The angel continued to guide him, instructing him to dress and put on his sandals, and then to wrap his cloak around him and follow. It was then that the full understanding of what had happened dawned on him. Upon arriving at the house door, Peter knocked, eager to share the news of his freedom. The reaction of those who had been praying, with fervor and persistence, was surprising. And there he was, Peter, in flesh and blood, living proof of God's power and the effectiveness of their prayers. This narrative invites us to reflect on the nature of power that is not limited to human constructs. It is a reminder that the journey of faith is not without challenges, and that opposition is often an integral part of the path. Peter, upon finding himself free, went to where love and prayer awaited him, demonstrating that the community of faith is an essential pillar in our journey. Peter's liberation is therefore a beacon of hope for all of us. If this reflection has touched your soul and ignited a flame of hope in your heart, I invite you to join us on this journey of faith and inspiration.